and gentlemen, this is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Thursday, the 19th day of October, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage all of you to prepare for EMP, electromagnetic pulse, or its natural equivalent, coronal mass ejections, energy coming at us from the sun, either one of which could knock out the national power grid. Complete report from the Commission. I plan to look into this, which, by the way, lost their funding a few weeks ago, is at my website at thelibertyman.com. You need to educate yourself and make prudent preparations. You really do. We have patient waiting agreement with my friend Tim Spencer. Tim is a husband, a father, a grandfather, a rancher, a veteran of the U.S. Navy Submarine Corps, and proprietor of the excellent website ruralsurvival.info. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, John. How are you doing today?
Well, up and at 'em. Looks like another beautiful mid-fall day here in south central Missouri, looking at a high sunny day, a high of 82 degrees. And I'm looking forward to about 100 miles, maybe 130 mile ride on my motorcycle today.
Oh, you're going to have fun then.
Absolutely.
That's good then.
Yeah. It's a way to combine duty with pleasure. I have meetings to go to, and why not make the best of it? How about yourself, sir? How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Feel kind of funny this morning. I don't know what it is. I think I'm having a little minor medicine reaction, lips numb, stuff like that, but I'm not hurting or nothing, so I'm doing okay. I'm going to sit out on the porch today and enjoy the beautiful weather and play with or watch the chickens and play with the dogs probably and do what I can do on one leg and get my exercise like they're wanting me to, but I think I'm going to have a good day.
All right. Okay. Well, the news is taken up by a bunch of silliness. A conversation the president had with the widow of a soldier who was killed in action in Africa. A lot of silliness that doesn't amount to anything. In the meantime, behind the scenes, Donald Trump continues to incrementally dismantle all the bad stuff the Obama administration put in place.
Yes.
One thing that does concern me, however, is this congressional committee looking into drafting women. That has me very concerned. How about you?
Yeah, it does. It does. It has never been the United States position ever to draft women before. Women were supposed to stay home, take care of the kids, take care of the land, farm, whatever, while hubby went off to war. That's the way things have always been done, and they're upending that. And I've got to admit, it gives me a funny feeling, the idea of drafting women. We're doing the same thing that countries like North Korea do, if this does in fact happen.
Right.
And it just isn't right.
It's a sign of barbarity, as far as I'm concerned. The only other sign it would be desperation. People point to what Israel did in 1947. They had no choice because
I agree.
They were outnumbered more than 10 to 1. They had no choice. But once that crisis was over, they took women out of combat positions. Now, during World War II and other wars, Revolutionary Civil War, World War II, women served with distinction in the medical corps, which is the just and proper place for women to serve, with honor, with distinction, but
even in that, though, it was voluntary.
It was, and they had more volunteers. My mother, in fact, attempted to volunteer for the nurses corps. She was not accepted, but they had more volunteers than they could use in World War II.
Yes.
To serve in the medical corps, the Women's Army Corps, WACs as they're called. And that's
my own
that's
adopted mother did it during World War II, John. She was part of the group of women that helped take care of the shipwreck survivors on the east coast of Florida when the Germans would torpedo a ship. There would be a good number of men that actually survived and made it to shore. And she volunteered with those, wiping the oil off of them and all that.
Right, right. Well, she wasn't even part of the service. She was doing it as strictly a ad hoc volunteer on the spot.
Right.
Right. Well, that's commendable. Well, the last human touch and last human voice heard by many dying GIs in Vietnam and other wars was the soft touch and soft, gentle voice of a nurse who held her hand while they died.
Exactly.
So that's the just and proper place for women to serve. In Western society, in Western culture, men grow up with the belief and the knowledge that it's their job and their duty to protect the women, not put them in the foxhole next to them. That's a bizarre concept that's out of touch with Western culture. Don't you agree?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
And that spans most traditions of most cultures across the planet. You being Native American, you know that the Native Americans did not intentionally put their women in combat. If the women had to fight to defend themselves and their children, they would, but that was not by design. That was because they had no choice.
That is correct.
The war parties, Native American war parties, to defend their homes and their families was made up of the men. And that's the way most cultures most of the time have operated for, well, as long as we have records going back several thousands of years. Men are larger physically, stronger physically, have more testosterone, usually.
Yeah, usually.
And men are by design, by nature's and God's design, men are the warriors, and should be the warriors if that's necessary. Well, I hope that Donald Trump will intervene and stop that whole procedure from moving forward. The committee is filled up with liberals, by the way, who think it's just dandy to have women in foxholes, and that needs to be corrected. I know it's probably not a high priority for President Trump, but I would love to see that committee done away with, quite frankly, in terms of their methodology, their goal to integrate females into the Corps. Moving on from there, Tim, you and I have talked a number of times about how an issue can be so important in the mainstream media and then just go away.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. It is. And that's, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq continue, although there's almost no mention of them. The situation with what's happening in Ukraine has not gone away. It's still there.
No.
But you're not going to find any attention in mainstream media to any of those three topics, are you?
No, you're not. It's just one of those, or actually several of those things that just go under the radar in the mainstream media. It's what they consider old news and not important. Right. It makes no difference that Americans are dying to them. They don't care.
Right.
But it continues to go on.
There is a website, antiwar.com, that does a pretty good job of staying up to speed on all the different wars all over the planet.
Right.
And I do try to check them out at least once a day to see what's going on in all these different conflicts, which most continents have conflicts of some kind going on, except the Antarctic. We don't know if there's any down there or not, quite frankly.
Correct.
But let's look at the North Korea for a moment. I find it ironic. Within the same 4-week period of time, we have two very different things going on. We have the former director of the CIA, Mr. Woolsey, being interviewed on Voice of America, saying unequivocally that those two North Korean satellites that go over the United States every 12 hours do in fact have nuclear devices on them. Within the same 4-week time span, we have the Commission on Electromagnetic Pulse being defunded. There's something terribly wrong with those two things happening in close proximity, aren't there, Tim?
Yeah, there is. There's something very wrong going on here. As you've mentioned, those satellites are putting out no signals that anybody can find, at least.
Right.
Which means that those satellites are not there for any other purpose but to carry a payload and to receive a signal at a certain time. If they're not putting out any signals, they're just sitting there waiting to be detonated, in my opinion.
This is the same federal government who funds a study to find out why lesbians are fat.
Right.
We got some priorities pretty upside down and backwards here, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Of course we have, John, for quite a while. I mean, even when I was in the Navy, I thought things were upside down and backwards from what they should have been. Who cares about the sex life of fruit flies?
Right. Well, this needs to be corrected. I've interviewed Dr. Peter Pry on this show.
Yeah.
Who is the chief of staff, I believe, on the Internet Commission, the EMP Commission. He's authored several excellent books, and he's doing a great job attempting to get the 48 lower states, well, actually 47, because Texas has already got their own power grid, to get the other 47 states to isolate and insulate, island themselves, as the term he uses, from the other 46 states. I think one or two states have done it. I've been told, I haven't verified it, one or two states back east, which would be fairly small, easy. For example, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is smaller than Texas County, Missouri, which is right next to you. So isolating a fairly small geographic area is obviously less expensive and easier to do, at least it should be. In a place like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, fairly small places should be able to island themselves. That's what really needs to happen. And in the meantime, we can't take it for granted that it will happen in time, can we?
No, not at all. I mean, the money to do it is so incredibly small. I read somewhere that the whole country could be hardened against EMP for less than the cost of two of the stealth bombers. Right,
B-1 bomber. It's 1 1/3 B-1 bomber. There's about 100 of those aircraft. They're wonderful, marvelous aircraft. They've used about 10 of them. They've used about 10 of them to blow up things in the Middle East. The other 90 they keep nicely polished and ready to go at Whiteman Air Force Base.
Right.
And they can give the senators and the congressmen nice tours of the 90 well-polished, fueled-up B-1 bombers ready to go that they spent their money on, while they only used 10 of them to blow up stuff in the Middle East. And you're right, Tim. It's a great example of money being spent that doesn't need to be. They need 10 B-1 bombers. They don't need 100. But we do need to protect the national power grid, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be done easily and quickly and cheaply, and there's just no political will to do it, which I personally don't understand.
I wouldn't say no political will. They were one vote short. There was I don't recall the woman's name, a female senator from Alaska who was the no vote. That one vote stopped the national power grid from being protected. And if this happens from either a natural cause or a man-made cause, those tens of millions of deaths will be on her head, won't they?
Oh, absolutely. And there will be tens of millions of deaths. There's no question about that. Power grid goes like they're projecting it could. 90% of the U.S. population within a year to 18 months. I mean, my God, it's something that can be prevented so easily. And I would recommend that people write their senators and representatives and push them to make this an issue.
I agree.
I've done it.
I don't know if there's any pending legislation to remedy this or not, but there needs to be if there isn't. And I would go a step farther in writing ink on paper letter is an excellent thing, far better than email, better than a telephone call. Best of all, though, is to schedule a visit with the staff of both your senators and your congressman or congresswoman, and go there in person to visit with the staff for a few minutes and let them know what you think, because almost nobody does that, Tim.
You're right, they don't. They absolutely don't. But it's something that's easy to do and makes a big difference.
A lot of times these senators will have a bus that goes around and has sets up in the county seat to have constituents come and visit with staff members. Whatever, that's the most effective way. Now, ink on paper is next best.
Right.
Telephone call, next best after that. Email is the least effective. But whatever it takes, we need to do this nationwide. We need to have legislation passed that would protect the national power grid. At the state level, there needs to be action at the state level. The lower 47, there's basically Alaska, Hawaii, and the 48 lower states. One of which is isolated, we know for a fact. Texas, I think there may be one or two back east that are. The rest of the 45 or 46 of the lower 48 are all connected together. Either the eastern power grid, East Mississippi, western power grid, West Mississippi. And you're right. The statistics developed by the government who's looked into this, 9 out of 10 Americans will be dead in 12 to 18 months. That's a fact as far as I'm concerned. Bad water, no food, no medicine, crime, freezing, all those things would kill 90% of the Americans. Here's our break. Call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Thank you. Thursday, the 19th of October, visiting with Tim Spencer, the proprietor of ruralsurvival.info. We're talking about EMP. If there was an EMP, having a private library with more than 1,000 books and publications would be a really good thing, wouldn't it, Tim?
Yeah, it would. You know, if people were to think, and I hope there's warning if there is an EMP, you know, protecting something like a tablet where you could look at a flash drive would be really, really important. You know, we've got metal boxes that we can put, you know, certain things in, like chargers, solar chargers, a tablet, you know, that it has a USB port. It's so easy to do.
It is.
You know, it really is.
And the library is on a flash drive for sale at your website, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we've got several of them left. 1,570 documents chock full of information that is very useful for a ridiculously low price when you think about it, $59.95.
Well, I've spent
and all the information.
I've spent
that's
that much
right.
for one book. I have. Yeah, and you'll find dozens. The index, you don't need to buy a pig in a poke, as my grandmother would say.
Right.
The index with all the books and publications and documents is right there for people to look at. The first 12, since they're in alphabetical order, the first 12 are about home canning, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Actually, I think it's 19, and it's from
19.
and those documents are from the University of Georgia, the majority of them.
Oh,
and
right.
how to can tomatoes, how to can beans, how to can meat. It's all right there, very cheap, very accessible. And people want to look at it. All they got to do is click on the red and black flash drive picture. It's on the top right of every page of ruralsurvival.info.
Right.
And that takes people to the page where the index is. It's 52, 53 pages in PDF format they can download and see exactly what is on that flash drive. And I think people will be surprised.
Yeah, they will.
The miscellaneous. Go ahead.
We had a couple of callers here. Before we get to them, I spoke to Steve Whitman last night. He's going to join us, I think, in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And Diane Zerger, we hope to have Diane Zerger back on with us soon also. Here's our first caller, Paul in New Jersey. Good morning, Paul.
Hello, gentlemen. You know, when Donald Trump won his presidency, one of the thoughts I had concerning him was that Donald Trump was a great method to get nationalist, generally rural whites, to join up and fight for internationalist, globalist, agendas, and to get what are stereotypically called the yahoos to sign up. And so it's important that if we're going to join the military or have a war, we have to determine whether the war is in our interests. I've been hearing a lot of Zionist types trying to wheedle their way and co-opt their way even into InfoWars and steer the agenda to fighting Iran. Now, interestingly, according to the Global Terrorism Database, 95%, about 94 to 95% of all terrorism in the world today is committed by Sunni fundamentalist extremists, which means not sponsored by Iran. And ironically, you'll hear in the neocon press everybody trying to steer away from that evidence and focusing on the Iranians who supposedly...
Well, the Sunnis are Saudi Arabians. That's a Saudi royal family. And,
right,
and
but
and the Wahhabis. Yeah. This segment, we're almost out of time here. We need more time to discuss this properly, Paul. Let's...
Yep. I'll just say one more thing. But even Donald Trump, when he was talking about Iran the other day, he had to pull out all the terrorist information from the 1980s when America was basically waging a CIA covert war against Iran using chemical weapons in the proxy state of Iraq against the Iranians. So even Donald Trump, by his citing all these terrorist acts from the 1980s, is basically saying there's no real modern Shiite terrorism going on. And so I'm just trying to warn all the good patriots out there, don't fall for these neocon lies and don't let them steer us into a war with our Iran without solving first the Saudi Arabian Wahhabist problem. They're the ones who export
they are
terrorism.
a real danger.
I agree.
Exactly. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Paul. And Rick, make it quick. We're almost to the bottom of the hour.
I was going to say, I don't do. Yeah, hi. Hey, good morning. I don't do social media, but social media is all abuzz with Pizzagate. I wouldn't know it, but you can't hardly find it. But right now, social media is on fire with it, so this will be interesting.
Okay. All right. We appreciate the heads up, Rick.
Yeah.
We've got a bottom of the hour break. We'll be back with Tom Berryhill. We'll be talking about the energy cleaner. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 19th day of October. This is the 24 minutes I look forward to every week, where we talk about a marvelous healing device called the Energy Cleaner. We begin these conversations with my friend Tom Berryhill, the manufacturer of the Energy Cleaner, giving us our disclaimer. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, John. We're not doctors or medical professionals. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. The information discussed today is for your education and entertainment only. If you have a medical condition requiring treatment, you should utilize the services of a medical doctor, chiropractor, or other competent practitioner.
All right. Well, gentlemen, in the last week I've been in touch with both Diane Zerger and Steve Whitman. I talked to Steve last night. Steve is working on novel number 7, which is soon to be finished. I'll get a review copy, and we'll be interviewing Steve. And he's agreed to come on the show with us here, not next week, but the week following that. Diane Zerger has been on vacation, and I'll be talking to Diane here soon also. For those who don't know, Diane Zerger, she was on here every week for several years with us, and her stated goal in life is to save the planet one energy cleaner at a time. And Diane has bought, I think, 12 or 13 energy cleaners at this point in time. So it's going to be fun to get caught up with both those individuals and see if they can both come on the show here with us. Tom, we had a drawing for energy cleaner last week, but the one before that, we never got a response back from that person. So we need to go ahead and have another drawing, don't you think?
Well, that's fine, John.
Okay.
You're the boss in that department. Let's do it.
Well, I'm reaching in the envelope here, which has several postcards, and let's see, I'm pulling one out, and it looks like Kevin in area code 509. Kevin in area code 509, and beautiful postcard with, it looks like a bridge and a waterfall here from Spokane, Washington. So I'll be in touch with Kevin, let Kevin know that this postcard's been drawn. And here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. If you go to my website at thelibertyman.com, on the right side of my homepage, you'll see an orange ball there. Just click on that, and when it says right there, $70 off energy cleaners. Learn how to qualify. Click here. All you got to do is mail in a postcard. The address is right there. We have a drawing every other week. If your postcard's drawn, you have the opportunity to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail. That would be $215 instead of $285. Plus the opportunity to buy mattress pads 10% off. $200 of the purchase price in energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. It's a source of funding for Republic Broadcasting. I know Mr. Stadtmiller expressed his appreciation a number of times to me, Tom, for your sponsorship of this for Republic Broadcasting. So get those postcards in, and we'll have our next drawing 2 weeks from today, which would be, it looks like November the 2nd would be the next drawing. Well, gentlemen, we talk about energy cleaners every week for 24 minutes, don't we, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
And you're the individual whose story has been told many times, an individual who literally got his life back. We're in year number 8 of Tim Spencer getting his life back, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. And I attribute it to the energy cleaner. There's no question in my mind. It makes all the difference in the world. Even with this amputation, I'm healing up. I feel so good when I lay down on it at night. And then, like this morning, I just simply don't want to move. I don't want to get off of it.
Well, this is radio.
I love it.
We have new listeners who've never heard of the energy cleaner, never heard of Tim Spencer. You and I were at the first Vince Finelli's first expo 8 years ago, or actually 7 years ago. This is the 8th year since then, and I knew you and I had been friends for about a year by then. I'd met you just a year before at that fundraiser for my client charged with first-degree murder, and I decided that I was going to surprise you on the way home with an energy cleaner and a mattress pad to go with it, a aluminum screen pad, actually.
Yeah.
And I did. I had the batteries on it. I had the aluminum screen pad ready to go. I did everything except tuck you in and give you a cup of hot cocoa, didn't I?
Yes, you did, John. You gave me everything I needed.
Right. Well, despite all my preparation, you still waited 2 weeks, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Excuse me. Part of it was procrastination. Part of it was just being super busy.
Right.
But that was 2 weeks I wasted.
Right.
In my opinion.
People need to know what your status was before you started using an energy cleaner, how you felt going up and down steps, your trip to the Pershing VA Medical Center in Poplar Bluff. What was your status before you started using energy cleaner?
Well, the bottom line was I was seriously considering going into what I call VA daycare, which what that was almost a nursing home type environment, John, where I'd be taken care of, given my meals 5 days a week. I'd get to come home on the weekends. But being that was 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours back, you and I both know that it would have gone from every weekend or every other weekend to just holidays to just Christmas. You and I know how that works, and it's not because it's intended to be that way. It's just the way things work out.
Yeah, and people don't know our part of the country. 2.5 hours of driving on roads that are similar to a Six Flags ride.
Right. Yeah. Well, 21, which I would have used, is considered, at least by National Geographic, as the most dangerous road in America. And that's what I would have to travel on.
Right. Well, and for very good reason, and I'm not going to go into the details of that. But what was coming down a flight of steps like for you in that period of time?
It was hell, John. It was hell. Not only the pain, it was the fear of falling. It was having to have somebody help me, a lot of times. Actually, it was worse then than it is now with my loss of my left leg. Now it's a pain in the butt. Back then it was dangerous.
Exactly. Now, when you started using Energy Cleaner, you started feeling better within days.
Within a week.
Within a week.
Yeah, within a week or less.
Now, you went public with me beginning about 3 to 4 weeks out, and people got to listen to your incremental improvements there. Now, let's fast forward.
Yeah.
Let's go 2 years into your recovery. What were you doing?
Everything, John. Everything I wanted to do.
You were riding your ponies. You raised horses there at your ranch. You were climbing a radio tower to do some work on a radio tower.
Yeah, I don't want to do that again, but I did do it. You're right.
Well,
you even got a picture of it.
Yeah, and doing all the things that needed to be done around a ranch, where previously just pain kept you from doing most anything for more than 4 or 5 minutes, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it did. It did. It was so bad, and I've told you and Tom this before. Every breath actually hurt. It hurt to breathe, but it's not something that's optional. You know, the only relief I got was walking on flat surfaces, not necessarily hard surfaces, but flat surfaces.
Right.
Like out in my backyard and you know, stuff like that. I couldn't get out there and go through the woods anymore. You know, stepping over down trees was murder. I mean, it was just so hard. Right. Bending over, working on a car or something was almost out of the question.
Right. So that was your recovery now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a small machine. We call it a machine for lack of better terms. It's an electronic healing device about the size of a cigar box. It takes 9 D as in Delta, 9 D-cell batteries. No on-off switch, no gauges, no dials. Simply one LED light that alternately flashes red or green, telling you 2 things. First of all, it's working. Second of all, it's changing polarity. You can study up on it at my website at thelibertyband.com. Read the patent application information, which is fascinating, the technology that went into this machine. You can read the wonderful testimonials by people like Steve Whitman. Steve will be our guest here, I believe 2 weeks from today. He'll be on with us. And make your decision. Look at the factory-made fitted mattress pads. And keep in mind the following. I offer for me to you personally, this does not involve Tom Berryhill or any third party. I offer for me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee, which I stand behind. Now, it's about once a quarter, about once every 3 months, sometimes once every 4 months. I'll get one shipped back to me, and I refund these people's money, no questions asked. I always wonder, and Tom, you and I have talked about this a number of occasions, I always wonder, did these people actually use it? That's my wonder, isn't it yours, Tom?
Same here, John. Many times you get the unit back, like you mentioned, the screen wire or the pad itself was never unpacked or connected. So you wonder if they did anything other than to just look at it. Right.
Now, locally, I've got a unit on loan out to the wife of a friend of mine. I talked to her yesterday. She's got some Herxheimer's thing going on, which is detoxification, detoxing too fast. The Energy Cleaner is a powerful machine. So I said, what you need to do, take the cover off, remove 6 of those 9 batteries. You leave 3 in there. That will slow down and reduce the power of the Energy Cleaner to where it will slow down the detoxification to where you can tolerate it and not be in distress because of that. So she agreed to do so. I'll get back with her in a week and see how she's doing. She's a relatively young woman. I think she's 46, 48 years old, something like that. Her life has just been taken over with pain and lack of sleep, both of which are things the Energy Cleaner deals with quite well, doesn't it, Tim?
It does. In fact, we always say that the Energy Cleaner lets you get a good night's sleep. Now, my daughter, with her new Energy Cleaner, whether she has realized it or not, her sleep has greatly improved from what it was.
It becomes a new normal, is what happens. It becomes a new normal. All right. And after a period of time, you forget the distress you had from lack of sleep previously, because it has become the new normal.
Right.
But I'm glad she's getting some relief there. That's wonderful.
Oh, definitely.
Yep, and it helps the whole household when one member is getting a better night's sleep, doesn't it?
Well, the old saying goes, if Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Right.
And she's gone from 2 hours sleep a night to 5 or 6, sometimes 7 hours sleep a night.
Well, she'll probably find out what I do, and I know for myself. Those first 4 hours, I am just like a rock. I'm out cold. And the next 2 hours, I'm pretty good, having excellent sleep. But I could get up after 6 hours and be quite refreshed. I do typically rest for 7.5 hours. But with the energy cleaner, I probably don't need to, but I do it anyway because it just feels so refreshing to be on that signal. An electrostatic signal. What I started to mention, gentlemen, it's not a TENS unit. People say, is this thing a TENS unit? No, it's not a TENS unit. Is this a Rife?
Nothing anything like it.
No. Is it a Rife frequency generator? No, it is not a Rife machine. That's entirely different technology. This technology is unique. This technology works, and it's backed up by a 30-day money-back guarantee. So people are sitting out there listening to Tim and Tom and I on this Thursday morning. They didn't get a good night's sleep. They woke up with pain, and they're pondering, and they're wondering, I wonder if that thing would work for me. That's what Steve Whitman was wondering. And his buddies, after Steve hurt himself doing construction work at his camp up there in Maine, his buddy said, why don't you try out John Moore's machine? He's got that energy cleaner thing. It can't hurt, right, Tom?
That's exactly what happened, John. And of course, in Steve's case, it's a good thing he did that because it not only helped him to get physically fit and back into his regular routine, it saved his life later on.
It did. Just a few months time frame difference. Steve will be on here telling his story. I don't want to steal his thunder. I believe about 2 weeks from today, we'll have Steve come on to tell his story, which changed his life in so many ways. As a consequence, I introduced Steve to Tim. Steve became a writer for ruralsurvival.info. That segued into writing his first novel, dealing with the incident where he almost lost his life. And now he's become a successful novelist and is writing novel number 7, Tom.
That's great. And John, when Steve comes on, we have to make sure that he tells us about his wife's deal with the lupus. I mean, to me, I knew Steve would heal up, but boy, what happened with his wife and that lupus going away is
right.
Really something.
It is phenomenal, and this young woman has her life back. She was a aerobics instructor prior to the lupus. That was what she loved to do. Lupus is so debilitating, and when you take the medicine that they prescribe, it makes you go blind. If you don't take it, you die. So, what a choice. What a choice. So she's recovered from lupus. No sign she ever had it. You can get the energy cleaner at my website at libertyman.com. I do take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can send a check to my address at thelibertyman.com. And I have a toll-free order line 24 hours a day, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Well, the seed catalogs start hitting people's mailboxes. Tim, about 2 months or so, around December?
Yeah, exactly. And having an energy cleaner to use on starting seeds is just incredible. Or, which Tom can explain his way of doing it with the hydroponics or stringing chicken wire above the plants.
Here's our break.
Here's our break, buddy.
We'll talk about the plants when we get back. Stay tuned. Thursday, the 19th of October. Before the break, we started to talk about using energy cleaner for gardening purposes. Tom, we got about 3 minutes here. There's enough time to give a quick summary of how that works, sir.
Well, there's several applications for this, John. Tim mentioned a hydroponic greenhouse, and that's an excellent one. In the troughs where the plants grow, you simply stretch some stainless steel welding wire through that trough, and the plants will receive the signal. The media that the plants grow in is kept moist by the nutrients that flow through there, so that provides excellent conductivity, and just one strand of that welding wire stretched through that trough will do the job. If there's multiple plant beds in the greenhouse, just run a separate wire through each one, gather all the wires to one common point, and twist them together and connect the energy cleaner output cable onto that connection point, and that will energize all those troughs in the greenhouse. On regular gardens, you would want to get fence posts that are available at any farm supply store, and then you would stretch some chicken wire over the plant area in the garden that you want to energize, and you can use electric fence insulators. That's an excellent insulator to use because you want to keep that chicken wire ungrounded, and the energy cleaner can connect onto that chicken wire at any point. It doesn't have to be in a corner or in the middle, or it can be anywhere. Just connect onto it, and then maybe perhaps keep the energy cleaner in a plastic bag or inside of a plastic tub or something that also keeps direct sunlight off of it, and it will operate perfectly in that application. And then also many people will set up cold frames. You can line the lid of the cold frame with chicken wire, staple it on there, and then maybe a small wire comes out through the side and can connect to the energy cleaner, or you can keep the energy cleaner inside the cold frame along with the plants. Just put it in a plastic bag to keep any moisture off of it, and it will function perfectly in those applications.
Absolutely. Well, these are simple procedures, and if you're using the energy cleaner signal on your seedlings, Tim found out the hard way. You better be ready to put those babies in the ground, right, Tim?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I guess it's been 3 years ago, maybe even 4 now, that we did that. And I figured I had 10, 12, 14 days, and no, I had 7 with that energy cleaner hooked to them. And, the beets wound up being a disaster. It was a mess.
Too much, too
fast. We weren't ready. Yeah, too much, too fast.
Right.
And what I did, I used a metal picnic table, made sure it wasn't grounded, hooked the energy cleaner right to the picnic table during the day.
It sounds like the curse that every gardener hopes for, and you got it.
Oh, boy, did I ever. So, I hear music.
We're out of time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Enjoyed it, John.
Jim.
Thank you, John.
Here's our break. We'll be back with Don Copley, and we hope we'll talk about these domes next. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Thursday, the 19th day of October. Your prepper tip of the day, I want to encourage all of you to educate yourself on what EMP is, what it can do, what it can't do. Keep in mind there's a natural version of this. Electromagnetic pulse is man-made. Coronal mass ejection is the natural part of it, where energy comes at it from the sun, both of which could result in the national power grid being damaged, if not totally destroyed. Educate yourself, inform yourself, and then do what you need to do to make prudent preparations. We were hoping that Don Copley would call in, and we'd be talking about the inner shelter domes. Don is a very busy guy, was spread out over several continents with his business of building these and delivering the inner shelter domes, which are listed at my website. A totally unique product. Nobody else is doing this. I'm surprised nobody else is yet, but nobody else is doing the domes like Don is doing. They're permanent. We don't know how long they last because the original ones are showing no signs of of deterioration, require no outside maintenance. Marvelous products. You need to check those out. We're going to have a discussion about electromagnetic pulse. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a discussion about electromagnetic pulse. The phenomenon was first recognized, I believe, in the 1960s when it comes to man-made events. There was a lot of testing in the atmosphere in the 1950s, early 1960s, and the people doing the testing started noticing the effect on electronic equipment, which back then, of course, we're talking vacuum tubes and so forth, but even those types of equipment was being affected. In the modern age, we have electronics that are far more vulnerable to EMP than what we had back in the 1940s, 50s, and early 60s. I recall getting my first transistor radio. It was about the size of a pack of cigarettes. It had a little earbud thing you could put in your ear, had no speaker. I believe it was AM only. It took, I believe, a 9 volt battery. And you could tune it in to the various AM stations where I lived in St. Louis and listen to the AM radio. And that those radios were, at the time, we thought they were marvelous, that you could actually listen to a radio station on something that small, that compact. And of course, that was the beginning of the modern age of electronics. We're at a point now in 2017 where here in the Western world, in the United States, most everybody, their very lives depend on the power grid and everything connected to the power grid for us to be able to live. The power grid delivers the fresh water that we consume. The power grid takes away the wastewater that we flush down our toilets. The power grid provides the electricity for the oil refineries that provide the gasoline and diesel fuel. The power grid provides the electricity for refrigeration and to manufacture pharmaceutical products. And of course, everything else connected to our infrastructure depends on the power grid. There may be a few things that don't, but the things that matter are connected to the power grid. So if or when the power grid goes down, regardless of the cause, whether it's a man-made event from nuclear devices being set off or the power grid being hacked with computers, both are certainly possibilities, or the natural event, coronal mass ejection. If the national power grid was to go down, here's the problem. Well, there's several problems. First of all, there's about 19 or 20 massive pieces of equipment that keep this whole power grid together. And they're not manufactured in this country. They come from China and India, I believe, and I'm not sure one or both. Not that it matters. These pieces of equipment, in normal times, there's a 1 year between the time you decide you're going to buy one and place your purchase order to the time that the piece of equipment is delivered. And that's when things are normal. If the grid goes down, it's not going to happen. There are not going to be any deliveries in years. But that's even if it was delivered in a year, that's time enough for 9 out of 10 Americans to be dead. I'm serious. This is very serious stuff. The report issued by the commission is a free download at my website. It's more than 200 pages. If you don't find reading pleasant or enjoyable, you may want to read only the first 90 pages. I think the first 90 pages are the most important. In addition, you need to keep in mind the following, because it's not mentioned in the report. They didn't have the money, the commission, which, by the way, was defunded just a few weeks ago in September. They lost their funding. They no longer exist in terms of a funded government entity. They didn't have the money to properly test modern cars and trucks. They had to use a reduced pulse, not a full-strength pulse. The reduced pulse caused problems mostly with things like electric windows and accessories on cars and trucks, but it still allowed them to run. The commission was ordered to do this to save money so that they could easily and cheaply repair these vehicles and sell them back on the open market. So that's what they did. Point being, we don't know the consequences of a full-strength pulse on modern cars and trucks. And I say modern. I mean model year 1973 and newer. Model year 1972 and older don't have the electronics, with the exception of there may be alternators in them. There was a transition period in the beginning around the mid to late 60s. They started putting alternators in cars instead of generators and things of that nature. An alternator and generator are pretty easy to swap out, by the way. It's a quick, easy thing to change. So you need to educate yourself. You need to know that if the power grid's taken out for whatever reason, you're going to be on your own. There's not going to be any FEMA coming to help you. Homeland Security's not going to help you. National Guard, they're going to go home and take care of their families. Police and fire department, paramedics, they're going to go home and take care of their families. They're not going to be helping strangers. They're going to be taking care of their parents, their children, their grandchildren, whoever it might be. They're not going to be helping you. There could be instances where that's true, where they would be helping, but and now out here in my community, there's a lot of cohesion. Neighbors know each other. Neighbors in normal times take care of each other. I know if there's an ice storm, I'll check on people who are shut in. They can't drive to see if they need something. There's widows in the neighborhood who can't drive, for example, never have driven. And things like that. We take care of each other out here in the country. We all know each other. Many of us are related by blood or marriage or both. And we take care of each other. In suburban and urban areas, that's not the case. That's definitely not the case. And you're going to be on your own. The time to get ready, I should say, for the electromagnetic pulse is now. Now there'll be a period of time, say the power goes out at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, the 19th of October, 2017, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, and so forth. There's only about 3 to 5% of the adults in this country who have any concept what EMP is. It may be slightly more, but most people don't know. Maybe 10%. That's optimistic. Despite the National Geographic show that they did and all the attention that the alternative media has paid, I would say 9 out of 10 Americans don't know what EMP means, what it is, what it can do. People will think it's a power outage, and they wonder, well, if it's a power outage, why isn't my cell phone working, my smartphone? Why won't my car start? Why am I stopped here in traffic on this interstate or this highway or this city street, and everybody else's car is stopped, and people got the hoods up, looking underneath the hood, not even knowing what they're looking at, quite frankly? It will take a number of hours for people to understand. It may take 2 or 3 days for many people to understand. It's not just a power outage. It's something else. Now, what you do, and here's why I'm saying this, what you do or what you don't do, that first hour, that first 2 hours is critical. It is critical. If you have transportation to go to a supermarket, a hardware store, a sporting goods store, those first hour or two, the store clerks will probably be conducting business for cash, no credit cards, checks if they know you, and selling inventory. That's going to go on for an hour, 2 hours, maybe several hours, maybe a better part of a day, depending on where it is. It won't go on. It won't take place the second day. By day 2, people will figure out this is not a power outage. This is something entirely different. Point being, you may have an hour or 2 hours or several hours. I wouldn't count on more than a couple of hours, quite frankly. Anything after 2 hours would really be a gift from God, quite frankly. If it happens at night, well, good luck. But if it happens in the daytime, you may have an hour or 2 to get some supplies that are needed for inventory. Food that doesn't need to be refrigerated. Batteries. Flashlights should be okay, by the way. Ammunition. Sporting goods. Maybe some outdoor clothing that you need, or a good sturdy pair of boots. Basic stuff like that. You need to, make sure your priorities are straight. That you are getting the most essential things first. Medical supplies, for example. If someone in your family needs a prescription pharmaceutical product to stay alive, well, you need to get what you can. Because when it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back. The time to get yourself off the pharmaceutical products is now, of course. We recommend using doTERRA essential oils. That's how people stayed healthy for thousands of years. There's a lot of misunderstanding about lifespan. And people don't understand actuarial tables and how that works. Lifespan has given the appearance of increasing mainly because babies don't die before 5 years old like they used to in so great numbers. That's one of the main reasons lifespans increase. Of course, lifespan in the United States is not increasing, which is not due to health so much as people committing suicide and murder and drug overdoses. We're now at a point where in Baltimore, for example, I just read this the other day, more people are dying from drug overdoses than there is homicide. That's pretty scary. The whole thing's scary. But getting back to EMP, these cities, within days, will run out of food. The water will be gone in a day or 2. It's not talked about much, but the sewage, what you flush down the toilet, frequently goes to a pump station where it's pumped to the waste treatment plant. In many areas of many cities, that wastewater is going to start backing up into people's homes and apartments, making a very unhealthy, unpleasant place to be. Now you can temporarily, you could stop that by plugging up toilets, plugging up sinks, plugging up floor drains in the basement, if you got a basement. That would be a short-term solution. Long-term, you would have to abandon ship anyway because of lack of fresh water. Now, many of my listeners, they know that I've spent most of my adult life defending people charged with crimes, everything from minor matters to first-degree murder. I've sat across the interview table from literally hundreds of men and a number of women charged with these crimes. And not frequently, but occasionally, I've asked the following question: what would you do if there was a major hurricane, a tornado, earthquake? And these men have looked me straight in the eye and said, John, we look at it as economic opportunity. I'm serious. And they were being serious. They were not fooling. John, we look at it as economic opportunity. Well, that economic opportunity is your home. And it includes your teenage daughters, by the way, and your wives. Economic opportunity, the opportunity to rob, rape, pillage. If you stay in an urban or suburban area, you're going to be subject to that rather quickly. Once the criminals figure out nobody can dial 911, and it's going to take them a few hours to do that, anywhere from 1 hour to several hours, they will figure out nobody can dial 911. Once they figure that out, they're off to the races, baby. I mean, seriously. This is what they dream of, is nobody can dial 911. Initially, they'll do things like steal Nike tennis shoes and electronics, still living in the paradigm of the old world where those things had value, which, of course, they no longer would. Electronics will no longer have value since nobody will have electricity, or almost nobody will have electricity to make them function. Here's our break. Call number is 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Thank you. Thursday, the 19th of October. Your call number is 800-313-9443. North Korea has 2 satellites that go over the United States every 12 hours, twice a day, on a polar orbit. The former director of the CIA, Mr. Woolsey, was interviewed on Voice of America Radio a few weeks ago, and he confirmed what we've been worried about for a number of years since we found out about these 2 satellites, that they do in fact have nuclear devices on them. We wondered about it, we pondered it, we speculated, but when you've got the former director of the CIA saying this, I think that's enough verification to suit me. Now, the naysayers out there, and I appreciate the naysayers, they may say, well, Woolsey's making this up. Well, that's a possibility. I can't imagine what the reason why he would do that would be. I do know one of my member of my audience in Denver a week ago Tuesday, he said, John, there's no communications coming from that, either one of those satellites. And traditionally, satellites transmit signals. We may not be able to understand them because they're encrypted, but they transmit a signal. They don't just sit there in space, going around and around and around. They're there for a purpose, and that purpose is to communicate, unless they're sitting there waiting for a signal that would tell them that it's time to blow themselves up. EMP may be the perfect weapon. A weapon that doesn't destroy the major expensive part of the infrastructure. It destroys the part of the infrastructure that can be replaced and repaired relatively inexpensively. It takes time. Now, for example, an oil refinery, it may take a better part of a year to replace all the electronics in an oil refinery. These places are huge, complex places. A power plant, it may take a better part of a year to replace the electronics in a power plant. Hopefully, nuclear power plants would have protocols in place to safely shut them down if they were damaged by EMP. It's not my expertise. I dearly hope that they can. It would be a disaster on top of disaster to have even one nuclear power plant kick off there. Meltdown, so to speak, China syndrome. That EMP happens, whether it's a solar coronal mass ejection, which could happen while it's night here because it could go all the way around the planet. It could hit in China on the other side of the planet, and it could go all the way around the planet at nighttime on our side of the planet. That's how powerful a coronal mass ejection could be. We don't know that it would be. That's how powerful it could be. Those first few hours are critical. I recall the September 11th, 2001. September 11th, 2001. I was putting on my suit, getting ready to go to a memorial service for my friend, my mentor, my employer, Mr. Charles Shaw, who had died the Friday before. And a friend of mine called. He says, "John, turn on your TV." And, of course, I saw what all of you saw. By noon, we had myself, my wife, my adult daughter, we had the money out of the bank. All three vehicles fueled up. All three vehicles had our essential things placed in them, ready to get to our safe haven out here in Davisville, Missouri. I told the two women, my wife and my daughter, I said, "Ladies, one more incident anywhere in the country, we're out of here." I knew we were under attack. I didn't know who was attacking us, but I knew we were under attack. We'd had the Twin Towers attack, and of course the Pentagon was under attack, and the plane that went down in Pennsylvania. I knew we were under attack. I just didn't know who it was or what their goal was. Now, by 5 o'clock that day, I was walking around my neighborhood. I just kept the vehicles parked. I didn't want to be out in traffic. I walked past a local service station. I saw the lines forming up, people getting off work at 5:15, topping off their fuel tanks and running to the supermarkets. We'd already done that 4 hours before. Here's our break. Call numbers 800-313-9443.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 19th of October. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. People that first see my website, they say, John, there's a lot there. Yeah, there is a lot there. There really is. Things will educate you and inform you and entertain you, too. Something that's really funny, the Real Housewives of ISIS. It is, I was hoping it was going to be a series, but BBC did this, and it's only maybe 3 minutes or so, but it's a hoot. The Real Housewives of ISIS. Also, my website, of course, is the Energy Cleaner. The Real Housewives of ISIS, by the way, is a 3-minute video. The Energy Cleaner is a healing device. That's what it is. A marvelous healing device. I use mine every night. I do. I'm pretty active around the ranch here, up and down ladders, painting, plumbing work, using a chainsaw, pushing those big boulders into the bucket of the Kubota, riding my 750-pound motorcycle, which I'll be on here in about an hour or so after the show's over. Do I go to bed with minor aches and pains? Of course I do. However, I get a great night's sleep. I wake up pain-free in the morning. And you can also, if you got joint pain, it will help. Back pain, it will help there also. Arthritis, almost always. The people that use these that have arthritis, almost all of them get relief. You're not getting a great night's sleep, you probably will with the Energy Cleaner. What are you waiting for? Are you procrastinating? Pondering? Thinking about it? Well, at this point now, I've been working with Tom Berryhill for more than 8 years selling these things. I got people buying their 3rd, 4th, 5th units. We had a gentleman buy 5 at one time a few weeks ago. Why would people buy the second one if the first one didn't work? These are smart people. You can't fool them. Energy Cleaner is $285, shipping included. 2 American zip codes. The mattress pads for sale at my website. They go with the Energy Cleaner. It's a great combination. I do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. I do, from me to you personally. And I have a toll-free order line. Now, keep in mind, I take PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa. PayPal is the most secure way to make any payment online, by the way. If you need to spread those payments out and you live in the United States, PayPal will take payments also. Toll-free order line, here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Taking your questions, calls, and comments. We're talking about EMP. The call number is 800-313-9443. We're a caller on hold here. We got Dan in Hawaii. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, John. My thoughts on the EMP. There was a website up several years ago called, I can't remember the name of it. Sorry. It was about EMP. I'll think of it later.
There's a number of them out there.
1 second after.
Right. Well, that's the title of a book written by Mr. Fortune, and it's one of the first novels written on that topic, and it's endorsed by former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. 1 second after. A great book. William Fortune.
Yeah, that was my intro into this subject right there.
Right.
My thoughts on timing. If I were to time this out, I would let it go at maybe 2:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. Now, what that would do, that would basically, on a weekday, that would, non-holiday, that would trap people at their jobs. So they wouldn't even be able to get home. The roads would load up. To a great extent, the roads would load up, and they wouldn't be able to get home. In other words, the breadwinner wouldn't be able to get home and help out.
Right. Well, our adversaries, they may be insane, but they're not stupid.
No, they're not stupid at all.
Right.
Yeah. So that was just my on that.
Okay.
And,
the best time would be on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning when everybody's home. Sunday morning would be even better as far as the outcome. A Sunday morning would be best probably. But, of course, we're not going to get to pick the date or the time, will we, Dan?
No, but you have to look in terms of probability when you're planning these things out. A weekend would be effective, I'm sure. Yeah. Anytime. Wouldn't make much difference, really. All right,
okay.
John.
Well, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Call number is 800-313-9443. Medications. I've touched on that a couple of times in this discussion. Most adults in this country take one or more prescription meds, I would say, and most being 51%. I think that's a pretty fair statement. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's probably closer to 3 out of 4 Americans consume a pharmaceutical product, prescription pharmaceutical product on a daily basis. You ever see the lines at Walmart picking up their meds? Yeah, my goodness, it's scary. And they have these racks with a plastic bag, with some kind of rotisserie thing back behind the counter with a plastic bag for each person's prescription product waiting to be picked up. Yeah, that's all. That will all be gone. That whole chain of supply would be broken, and if it would be fixed, it would be a year or more before it would be fixed. Point being, anybody who needs a pharmaceutical product to stay alive would probably be dead in 2 to 6 weeks. The average prescription is 30 days. The average person would have 2 weeks supply. And when it's gone, it's gone. Unless you had some kind of inside way to gain access to things that no normal person would have to gain access to. Now, these pharmacies, the bigger ones, of course, would carry a bigger inventory. The smaller ones carry a smaller inventory. It's just a matter of supply and demand, isn't it? They're going to take care of their friends and family first. The pharmacist and his employees are going to take care of their people first, their family and their friends first. Now, I've talked with local police, and they're aware of EMP, and they would have the things that would be protected would be food supplies and medicine would be the things that would be protected by the police in these small towns. This has already been planned and worked out in the towns that I work with. The chief of police is aware of this, and the places that need to be protected, where the food and where the medicine is, would be protected. That's what would happen. And that would happen within minutes, by the way. We have a fairly sizable percentage of people who are addicted to tobacco products, alcohol, and drugs, both prescription and street drugs. It's between all those things, alcohol, tobacco, prescription drugs, and street drugs, we're looking at a fairly sizable percentage of people. Now, if you're watching any films about World War II or prisons, you'll see tobacco being used as currency. inside the prisons, and to a lesser extent in a war zone. Alcohol the same way. But tobacco is used as currency in prisons because people with that nicotine addiction, they will do almost anything to gain access to their drug of choice, which is nicotine. You may want to think about stocking up on cigarettes. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I used to think it was cool to light cigarettes for my girlfriends when I was in college. But I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. You may, even if you're a non-smoker, you may want to stock up on vacuum pack cigarettes, cartons of cigarettes for trade goods, because they will be, unless you live in an area where tobacco is grown and readily accessible, tobacco products will have a lot of value. Alcohol, a bit less so. It's easier to manufacture alcohol products than it is tobacco products. I was visiting one of the men that I work with here in the neighborhood. I walked into his shop about 4 or 5 months ago, and there was a small still on the floor of his shop. It was beautiful. It had about a 1 gallon capacity, I would say, all copper, put together very professionally. And I looked at him, and I smiled, and he smiled, because I knew exactly what that was. And no harm. There's no problem as far as the law is concerned with making alcohol for personal consumption up to a certain volume. The law does allow that. But alcohol would have value also. The people who import drugs and sell them, they will find their inventory has a dramatic increase in value, because people will figure out pretty quick that supply, especially things like heroin and cocaine, which come from thousands of miles away, will be dramatically reduced, if not cut off completely. So the men and women who manufacture methamphetamine would find themselves back in business. So right now, I was talking to a woman the other day. She said, "John, the heroin is now cheaper than methamphetamine. So the methamphetamine producers are temporarily out of business because they can't compete against the cheap heroin. It's a simple matter of economics." If somebody that you care about needs a pharmaceutical prescription to stay alive and they can't get it, are they going to wean themselves off and substitute something healthy like a essential oil, doTERRA essential oil, or they're going to die? There's no third choice. There's people that need insulin, people that need heart medication, people that take anti-organ rejection medication. It's a long list of medications that people take to stay alive. You may be left with keeping them comfortable as you can while they expire. That may be the only choice. It's a tough place to be, but I could go that direction. You would be well advised to help those people wean themselves off those meds now. Even if we don't have EMP, wouldn't that be the smart thing to do? To get yourself off expensive, harmful pharmaceutical products, substituting healthy, inexpensive doTERRA essential oils? I think that would be a smart thing to do, don't you? Most people won't do it, but the ones that do could end up saving their life, or helping somebody else save their life, helping somebody else wean themselves off these dangerous, expensive pharmaceutical products. Best solution for EMP is a self-sustaining hobby farm, a good distance from a major city. A hobby farm is a place where the food, the produce grown there is meant for consumption on the premises. Obviously, if you got extra, you can sell it. But the primary purpose of a hobby farm is to feed the people that live and work there. That's what the primary purpose is. So, I'm not saying it would be easy. If you're a city dweller, the the life of a person on a farm is completely alien to you. I understand that. I appreciate that. I spent most of my life living in the city. But it is a good life. It's a healthy life. And after an EMP, it may be the only life. Developing the skills of gardening and animal husbandry now might be a smart thing, don't you think? While we have what appears to be the luxury of time, that might be a complete illusion. The luxury of time that we appear to have right now. That could be a complete illusion. I have private sources telling me the U.S. Army right now is scrambling to prepare their bases in the United States for EMP. That the Department of Defense is calling people in that are semi-retired to deal with EMP. They're regarding it as a clear and present danger, and they're getting ready right now. That's what they're doing. They're getting ready right now. They're not waiting. And you shouldn't either. I'm going to be reviewing my own EMP preparations around here, vehicles, power equipment, and so forth, to determine the status of everything, make sure everything's ready to go if and when it's necessary. I have several vehicles that are EMP-proof. I have backup power that I hope is EMP-proof. We're working on getting it better, but it's a work in progress, as they say. We got a call on hold here. We got Gaither in Oklahoma. Good morning, Gaither.
Well, how's it going, buddy?
Good. What's on your mind?
I was going to tell you, well, two little things. The one thing about addiction you're talking about, see, I'm a prepper, and I have several family members that are definitely going to have problems, with addiction withdrawals. And so what I've been researching is Kratom. I got a whole bunch of Kratom. It's supposed to be a natural plant that alleviates withdrawal symptoms, and it really helps a lot. And so I ordered a whole bunch. I've got about a pound of it, you know what I mean, which is a lot.
Right.
But it's something that I figure could help, the group, those in the group that have problems. I mean, it goes all the way from smoking to heroin addiction. I mean, all of it, alcohol. And it's not a cure, but if anything to help the people, we got to think about that.
Right, absolutely.
So, and it's all natural. I mean,
can you spell Kratom for us there, Gaither?
I think it's Kraton. I'm not exactly sure. It might be T-E, but it's just look it up. It's a natural plant. In fact, they're trying to outlaw it now in several states because there's a lot of people that are getting off marijuana addiction. It's not addicting, but getting off the urge for marijuana and different drugs. So, I mean, that's food for thought. That's what I've researched enough of it. Do I believe in it that'll help? And so that's what I did for kind of the comfort for the group. You know what I mean?
Okay. If you can get a link for that, send it to my email address at my website at thelibertyman.com. Gaither, I'd appreciate it.
I'm computer illiterate. I'll be honest with you. I just opened up.
Okay.
So you gotta go.
Well, in that case, we appreciate the call. Thank you, sir. We got a break. We'll be right back. And we're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 19th of October. I just got an email here from Roger, and it says, this is about the energy cleaner. Hi, John. Here's my review of the energy cleaner and mattress pad. It's been 1 month now. My wife was a skeptic, but now she has admitted to sleeping better. Age 53 and has had some health issues, so we're hoping for more and better results with long-term use. My experience is that I'm sleeping more soundly. I'm having dreams that I can remember and talk about. Before the energy cleaner, I did not dream. My age 58, I have had both knees replaced in the last year and a half due to bone and bone wear with no padding left in the joint. Many injuries to these joints when I was young. I have osteoarthritis in my back and hands. I get up with less pain and have more energy. I'm hoping that with steady use, I will feel even better. I really think this works. Please keep me posted when the next healing invention is ready. Thanks again, Roger. Roger, thank you very much for the note. We appreciate that. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. A testimony from one of our listeners who he and his wife are getting relief with the energy cleaner. And you can also. It's a lot of fun helping people. I've spent my entire adult life helping people in my different ways that I could in my professional career. And now, as a radio talk show host and as a spokesman for the energy cleaner, I'm still helping people. It is a lot of fun. And it's very gratifying and very satisfying to be engaged in this work, helping people get relief, get their health back, get the energy they want because they're using energy cleaners. Okay, let's see. It's Thursday. Tomorrow we'll have Tom Berryhill. We'll be talking about emergency communications and how you can learn what you need to learn about emergency communications, radio communications primarily. We'll have Dr. Myers on the second hour talking about health-related matters. And it's always fun to hear what's new with Dr. Myers. He's a very brilliant young man. I've known a lot of doctors in my life. He's right at the top in terms of his brilliance, how he's connected to so many things and open to new ideas. And we'll be wrapping up our week. I hope your week is going well for you. My week has been a great week. We've got what would appear to be a fairly normal fall weather here, except for lack of rain. The cattlemen are desperate for rain, but it will come. We're looking at about an inch of rain beginning Sunday and Monday, so that will give us some relief in terms of the precipitation. In the meantime, getting back to EMP for just a moment, that you need to educate yourself. There's a lot of value in reading a well-written novel. 1 Second After is one of the better ones. Grid Down Reality Bites, written by a friend of mine, Buckshot Hemming. He modeled one of the characters after me. By the way, you'll probably be able to identify him. Steve Whitman modeled the character after me as well in one of his books. But Buckshot Hemming's book, Grid Down Reality Bites, is good. 1 Second After is good. There's a lot of good ones out there. And there's a lot of value in reading a well-written novel, a well-written, well-researched novel, I should say. You can get a lot out of it. Seriously, you can. And the human dynamics are always what I'm looking at, as well as equipment and tactics and so forth. But the human dynamics is always what I'm interested in reading about, which brings us back to the Bible. Why the Bible is timeless, because it's basically a study in human dynamics. It's not technology-driven. Don't worry about that part. Okay, music's coming up here shortly, and we got a lot of good programming coming from Republic Broadcasting. I hope you can spend some time listening to the other hosts here and getting educated and entertained at Republic Broadcasting. It's a great place to spend some time. One of the great things about radio is you can do other things while you're listening. That's it for the day. Get your medical supplies, your energy cleaner, your essential oils, now while you can, your firearms and ammunition. Never ever give up your guns. Have a fun, safe, productive day, and God bless America.